Well. There certainly were a number of interesting stories this week. Usually when I research these, I find a select handful of interesting stories from various sources. But this week, all the stories come from the BBC. When combined together with my own personal experiences this week, they paint a broader view of the problems at the moment within the education system. For example, we start off with a conclusion of the SEND overhaul, which is ultimately very good on paper, with a massive budget increase of $3.5 billion and intentional additional increases over time to eventually reach the $8 billion mark by the end of March 2027. This is all fantastic work until you realise that they are pulling the funding from other aspects of education, including security and safety. One minor example, it's this lollipop patrol being scrapped on a particularly dangerous road where children have been known to be previously hit by cars. This is minor though, as a zebra crossing has been implemented to make up for it. Fun fact, do you know the penalty of hitting someone on a zebra crossing is £1,000 and a driving ban? And in a school zone, that's only going to be amplified. A more glaring problem with reduced security and more crowded schools is the increasing violence in said schools. Strikes across the UK are increasing, with more and more of a focus on the behaviour side of things regarding how students interact with teachers. These strikes occurred before the incident that we are talking about here, where a fight broke out that involved several students, and many teachers were injured. One of them even had to be sent to hospital. Sure, that's what they wanted when they woke up for that morning. Now, the punishment for these students, a few days isolation. There is no doubt that some of those parents will protest the punishments dealt to their little brats. Senior leadership teams need to learn to grow a spine and tell the parents to fuck off. And parents, you need to learn that you have failed as a parent. It's not just kids being kids. It's not just special needs. You have failed. I have autism, and I have never felt the need to attack teachers because I was raised right. Well, kind of. My dad did leave to go and get milk, but I blame my sister for that. Stabbed, locked away, verbally abused, chairs thrown at them, and hospitalised. There's no discipline anymore. I remember in my previous school where I worked as a TA, a fellow TA screamed his head off at a student to the point where the kid started crying. He really laid into him, and by that I mean the TA screamed, "Stop it now," so loud that it was heard throughout the school. The TA was taken away and detained, whilst the other kid was comforted by staff members. What caused the TA to react that way? Well, the student picked up a chair and was about to bash this rather petite teacher over the head with it. So let's quickly go over some of the experience that I have personally witnessed. So here we have my lovely little table that will be showing the incident that has happened, the outcome for the teacher, and then the outcome from the student. Ignore the fact that the teacher one has an apostrophe, I don't care. So first of all, we have the students locked their teacher in a room by barricading it. She was freed by other students before hunting down the culprits and shouting at them. What happened to the teacher? She received a written warning and was forced to apologise for the students. Now what happened to the students? Nothing happened whatsoever. Second incident, a TA screamed at a student that was attempting to murder his teacher. TA's outcome? He was detained and received a written warning. The attack target wasn't compensated in any way either. And the student? He was given a mental health recovery day. How nice! Because he was traumatised about being shouted at. Little prick. Third incident? A student jabbed me with a lit splint in order to put it out on my hand for literally no reason. This was when I was a TA, and we were in a science class. They were lighting things with the Bunsen burners, and you have to use the little wooden splint. So light it from one person's Bunsen burner to the next. Rather than jabbing it on the heat-proof mat, which is how they're supposed to put them out, they jabbed it into my hand for no reason. What was the teacher's outcome? Well, the teacher was told to carefully manage fire safety within the classroom. I didn't receive any medical aid and had a little temporary scar. It's faded now, faded ages ago, so I didn't mind calling it a scar. When I searched up on Google what to call it, it just said a temporary scar, or flat scar, it said, whatever. What was the student outcome? 30-minute after-school detention, which they appealed and then was removed. So, nothing, essentially. Burning a teacher resulted in no punishment whatsoever. This wasn't at my current school, this is my previous school, but still, come on. Incident 4. A student attempted to push me down the stairs and then complained that I made contact with the student. Teacher's outcome? As the incident was caught on camera, I was believed and then I had all accusations against me stricken from the record. That student outcome? He was given a 3-day exclusion. Well done, guys. Well done. You got 1 correct. Out of these 5 incidents that I have personally witnessed, 1 of them had a fair and reasonable outcome. Take a look at incident number 5, the latest incident that has happened. I said, "They're a misbehaving SEND student. Please stop acting like a moron." My outcome? 1 week of isolation. And restricted access in the school. And I now needed the staff escort to go anywhere in the school in case I would start talking to a student. And I also had to have a formal investigation launched against me. And what happened to the student? All previous consequences from the day were removed. So even though he was already due an hour long after school detention for the things that he was doing in that lesson, they were all removed. He was even given a nice little early break. Just notice the consequences are spelt wrong there, but oh well. Does any of this seem reasonable to you? Because it doesn't to me. No discipline whatsoever. There are warnings of a call to violence in Bristol because of a potential student gang war, where the schools have been divided up into colours. There is an escalating situation.
So, editing Lyra here. I have only now realised that these school gang attacks were about 2 different places. Northampton and Bristol. That's insane. 2 school gang wars over 100 miles away from each other. What the actual hell? Anyway, back to the video.
Where students have been encouraged to bring in weapons to school. A solution? Well, give the teachers even more things to do. Of course, for the teachers to start acting as security guards when using metal detectors to search for these weapons before anything happens. This is way beyond a teacher's pay grade. Why not get the police to do that? Oh yeah, they're too busy arresting people for mean tweets. Pure corruption. Speaking of corruption, a CEO of a multi-trust academy has announced her spontaneous retirement. She has assured journalists that this has nothing to do with the inquiry into where the funds she's receiving are going. See, she's requested more financial aid, yet is also firing teachers and then also hiring more executives, which cost considerably more. Each of their annual salaries estimated to be over £100,000 a year. It only has nothing to do with the fact that her salary was discovered to be £180,000. That's over 5 times the amount as a standard teacher's pay rate and twice that of a principal's. Oh, and 12 times higher than the TAs. Speaking of TAs getting royally fucked in the ass, Northern Ireland announced changes to further reduce pay of classroom assistants by cancelling term holiday payments. This would effectively cut out 3 months of pay. So the education system needs more SEND support staff because nobody wants to do it. And the government's master plan is to increase their workload, decrease their pay, and encourage children to physically assault them? Word of advice from Lyra Irisfell. If you value your life and sanity, don't become a teacher. Just join the army. At least then you'll get to fight back without being... Oh, right. Storm out, fuck off. TA screamed at a teacher that was attempting to murder... Some of these executive salaries are above £1,000 each. Quarter of £1,000, you stupid slut.